I think one of the things that is really impressive about you is how much research you've done. So as a researcher, what would you tell patients who are just beginning their journey and need to start that process of researching and finding out what treatments they're going to be, looking at?
Question everything. Absolutely question everything. And don't accept what you're told by any one person without checking it out elsewhere. I think that there's two types of patients that have the worst outcomes. And those are the ones who have the least resources and those who have the most resources. And the difference is those who have the least resources tend to just not be able to get the information. Those who have the most resources, and I'm talking about people who happen to know someone who's like the head of a department, things like that, they tend to believe whatever they're told without question. All I'm saying is don't believe what you're told without question. Always question what's being told to you and try to find another source of information that will confirm that.
So what would you tell a caregiver whose husband or partner is about to start the journey of, being diagnosed with prostate cancer and finding out what treatments they have? You've spoken a lot to caregivers at our conferences. You've always been so great with them. What is your best advice to them?
Kind of keep it a little bit light. I would tell the caregiver, good luck. And I really mean that. I mean that in both a serious way and in a kind of offhanded, casual way. But it's true. Men are, in general, not good communicators. And we're told that we are the breadwinner, we are the protector, we are the strong one. And when you're diagnosed with cancer, all of a sudden you don't feel like the protector or the strong one. Here's someone who you have to let take care of you. And I would tell the caregiver to be prepared for every range of emotion that they've ever seen their spouse or partner have, because they will go from anger, which in males is a lot of times an indicator of depression, and the hormone therapy will make them more emotional than you've ever seen them. That's one thing I didn't mention, is it does make you more emotional. I would just tell them to be ready for everything and to try to take everything that they see and the way that their spouse or partner responds to them with a grain of salt. And that grain of salt is understanding their position and where they're coming from. And if your partner is normally not communicative, they'll probably be even less communicative when they're diagnosed, because a lot of times they'll just kind of crawl into a hole and clam up. If their partner is the other way around, they're very fortunate. You're very lucky as a caregiver if your partner, spouse will communicate with you, but keep an open mind.
You dealing in advanced prostate cancer with patients in this support group, can you think of any stories of hope for our audience? We're always looking for incredible stories, because I think that since prostate cancer is so different, everybody thinks that advanced prostate cancer is an automatic death sentence, and that's one of the misconceptions that we try to take care of here.
Well, it's not an automatic death sentence, especially today. But I'd like to tell you a story that goes back many years, where there was a patient who the doctor told him, you're lucky if you've got 6 months to live. 7 years later, he saw him in the grocery store and went up to him and, hey, doc, how you doing? And all I can say is that if a medical professional tells you you've got X months to live, they don't know. They really don't know. And one of the things that you said, Alex, was this is a very personal disease. Each patient will respond differently to the same exact regimen, same treatment. You could have two patients who are the same height and weight and age, and they could have the same health status, and they're going to respond differently. The way to be successful is to communicate with your medical professionals and to communicate with your caregiver and to be willing to make changes on a dime when it's time. But yes, things are much better today than they've ever been, and it is not a death sentence.
Working in PCRI, working on helpline, we see a lot of different cases, a lot of different opinions. We've heard what doctors say, we hear what patients say, we see what the standard of care norms are, and then obviously we see the new treatments and the pipelines that come up. If there was one thing in the world of prostate cancer that you could change, what would it be?
A cure. That's what I would change. I would hope that there's a cure. And without the cure, what I would hope for is that the treatments don't debilitate the patient and that they can have a good quality of life. That's really important to consider when you're looking at different treatments. How will this treatment affect my long-term outcomes? How will this treatment affect my short-term outcomes? How will I feel on the treatment? And how will my family see me doing on this treatment? So those are considerations. It's like a chess game, trying to figure out, am I trying to live as long as humanly possible, or am I trying to live the best life I can? And there's decisions to be made there.
No, I appreciate the way you put it. I think that oftentimes quality of life just kind of goes by the wayside when it comes to people wanting to survive. And so I think that if I was asked the same question, it would definitely come to me when it comes to like surgery and radiation and all these side effects and hormone therapy. It's just that they're not presented with the full picture from the start. They're not going to have those conversations with the nurses in the doctor's office or even the doctors themselves. And so they go home with this sense of, okay, well, I know I need to do something, but without actually knowing the full cost. And the cost is the frustrating part for me, because I see what so many people are going through when it comes to quality of life. And I'm talking to a good friend who's just switched hormone therapies. And even just that transfer of switching has been difficult for him, and nobody told him it was going to happen. So here he's sitting thinking, I'm going insane. And instead, it's just him transitioning, and nobody even told him that that was going to happen. So I appreciate that point, because I think that obviously PCRI needs to fulfill that to some extent, but the concept of researching and looking at it like a chess game and being very strategic in your choices is very important.
Well, you actually brought up something very interesting. Hormone therapy given to prostate cancer patients is, in many cases, are the same drugs given to men transitioning to females. And the only way that you can be a male transitioning to a female is to have two psychologists basically see you for a year or two and write a letter. And so they take that very seriously. But when a prostate cancer patient is diagnosed with prostate cancer in the urologist's office, for instance, within an hour, that patient will have been given a Lupron or a drug similar to that, without any counseling, without being told what's going to happen to them, without being told how they're going to feel or how their brain will change or how their body will change. So we're really kind of just thrown out there. And I think in a way it's because we're men. I think if you gave women testosterone because they were diagnosed with a cancer that responded to that, they'd be given all sorts of counseling. And we men aren't at all. We still aren't.
What are tips you would give to somebody who you're maybe on the phone with, or a prostate cancer patient who maybe wasn't born positive? Maybe they need tips to get motivation and keep going and continue to do their research and take care of themselves.
Well, I usually try to talk to them about what they feel are their strengths, and they can apply those strengths to their cancer. We have men that are artists, engineers. They've been caretakers maybe before, their husbands, fathers, partners, and they've had success in those areas of their lives. So why not take that success and apply it to how they look at their cancer? And I also tell them something that they're not expecting, and that is be cognizant of the people around you and try to do something good for them as well. Because what happens is when you are diagnosed with cancer, you're very inward looking. Everything is about you. And it can be in the moment, but it can't be forever. It can't be in the long run. So if you're a person who wants to help others, then help your spouse, help your partner, help your family members, and that'll take some of that burden off of you, some of that worry. It's going to keep you busy.
So what would you say are some benefits of joining a support group? What would you tell patients to encourage them to join?
One of the main benefits of a support group for men is it's very unusual for men to share with each other what it is that they fear, right? What it is that they're trying to solve, that they're coming at from a point of weakness, really. Most of them aren't researchers. They're not physicians. They're not familiar with this. They were just thrown into this. And so everybody in that room, honestly, is coming from a point of not knowing. I would say that if women saw a men's support group, it would be very different. It's like every man turns into an engineer. Every man is trying to figure it out. Oh, what if I take this? What if I take that? What happens here? What happens there? And also, occasionally you'll get that flash of emotion that you see. And all the other guys are very appreciative when somebody shares something that really bothers them. And this is going to be one of the few times, and maybe the only time in their entire lives, that they will share something intimate from a point of, they would think, of weakness with another man. This really doesn't happen normally. It wouldn't normally happen had they not been diagnosed. So you can make some really great friendships in these support groups, and it can actually change your outlook for the better.
Yeah, I think that those benefits need to be talked about as well, just because a lot of times people think it's going to change the course of treatment, but it also can change the course of your life. I know that even being a woman, I've attended support groups, I've spoken to support groups, and the friends that I've made there and the relationships I've had, I've cherished for the rest of my life. And I would imagine that even people, especially people going through those situations and actually feeling like there's somebody else who is going through what I'm going through, it's really incredible.
Yeah, it's very helpful, extremely helpful. I would suggest that men seek out support groups. If they can't physically get to support groups, seek out support groups online as well.
Hey everybody, it's me, Alex, and our mascot here, Hunter. He's obviously licking my hands because we have lots of treats for him today. But yeah, we just wanted to let you know to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We come out with new prostate cancer videos every week. And go ahead and check him out on Instagram at Sir Hunter the Dow. Also, check out our website, PCRI.org, for more information about prostate cancer. We hope it helps.